Welcome, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today on this panel discussion on collaboration beyond brand. We have an absolutely stellar lineup for you today, but before we get into all of that, I wanted to mention a couple of items. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for playback. We want to hear from you. Feel free to use the Q&A button down at the bottom to jot down any questions that you may have for panelists, as we will have time for Q&A. We plan to end this webinar within 75 minutes, at which time there's a short survey for you to tell us your thoughts. Your questions and feedback are important to us and serve as a guide for future panels that will be made available to you. So with that, let's begin. My name is Karen Salenzi, and I am honored to be moderating this panel discussion today on collaboration beyond brand. I'm a fitpros Pro trainer, providing national group fitness education, presentations, and certifications to fitness professionals throughout Canada. I'm a Life Fitness Academy educator for North America and a master trainer for ICG North America. Now, did you notice that I've already spoken about 3 different fitness companies that I represent? Well, what you're going to discover in listening to today's lineup of speakers is that we are all master educators for competing indoor cycling companies, among many other things. Collaboration is a practice where companies or individuals work together for the common purpose of achieving either a beneficial personal or business outcome. If collaboration is to be successful, there must be a certain level of awareness, motivation, participation, reciprocity, and occasionally mediation. On social media platforms such as Facebook, there are several large and diverse indoor cycling groups that, despite the number of competing brands, they're all highly constructive and supportive in nature. So here you will see industry leaders and educators assist and weigh in on everyday subject matters, regardless of the brand or the certification that people have. And despite representing competing companies, they will collaborate and offer guidance in the quest to improve the quality and education of the programming within the industry. This is a structure we should all try to emulate. Differences aside, this is how we can all contribute to moving the health and wellness industry forward. Please allow me to introduce our panel, all of whom I believe represent the best in collaboration beyond brand. Javier Santeen. Javier has been an educator in the international fitness community for over 25 years, serving as a master instructor and educator for Les Mills, spinning, and Stages Cycling. Javier currently serves as Stages Cycling University brand manager and lead international master educator. Jesse Thomas. Jesse has over 20 years of industry experience and multiple degrees in kinesiology and exercise physiology. He currently is an international master trainer for Team ICG, Life Fitness, and My Zone. And Jesse also has or is a published author, I should say, of the book, The Ultimate Heart Rate Training Guide. Krista Popowich. Krista Popowich is an IDEA Instructor of the Year and 3-time fitpros Presenter of the Year. Krista is the Global Director of Group Education for Kaiser, and she's also the co-creator of Kaiser's new international on-demand indoor cycling platform called The Ride. Doris Thews. Doris is a 35-plus year fitness industry veteran and award-winning fitness educator, including IDEA Fitness Instructor of the Year. As CEO of Team Thews Fitness, Doris works with leading brands on business, program development, and executive strategy. Doris is a senior master trainer and global mentor for Schwinn and is on the International Development Master Trainer team for BOSU and Headstrong Fitness. Jennifer Sage. Jennifer is the founder and master instructor of the Indoor Cycling Association, which is an online educational and motivational resource for cycling instructors. She spent 12 years in the trenches as a master instructor for spinning and then launched the Indoor Cycling Association in 2011, which provides high quality information for indoor cyclists of any certification and skill level. Corey Parks. Corey is an international instructor and presenter for Mad Dog Athletic Spinning. She has worked, get this, and lived in the US, Canada, Namibia, Kenya, Madagascar, Egypt, Cambodia, Thailand, and the Philippines, all while pursuing her career as a fitness professional. And last but not least, we have Melissa Tilato Schmidt, who is making sure that everything runs smoothly for all of us today. You'll get to see Melissa a little bit later as she runs our Q&A session. Melissa is a spinning instructor who has been teaching for 12 years. She holds certifications with Schwinn and Kaiser and is a precision nutrition certified coach and TRX instructor. So, we are going to start off today's panel discussion with a question which I consider to be a cornerstone of every successful instructor's journey: mentorship. Now, I feel fortunate to have had the pleasure of having spoken to, worked with, and learned valuable lessons from every single person on this panel. We all have at least one special person that has provided tremendous assistance in one form or another. And we will now hear from each panel member. Prior to becoming a leader in the health and wellness industry, who was your mentor and how did it impact your fitness career trajectory? Corey, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I did unmute. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's many. And how long? I have 3 or 4 hours to let you know about my mentors. No, it does definitely boil down to one person who carried me through from learning to be from being an instructor to being a master instructor. And I have to mention the late Natasha Acchiavelli. Tosh, everybody knows her by, who passed away in November. And she's a huge loss. The spinning community is still reeling from her, but she left me with this amazing pearl. I'm going to try not to cry, but what she told me was, you don't have to give everybody your greatness. Your job as a fitness instructor is to help people find their greatness. And every single time I meet with people, I remember her telling me that I am touching the people that I have not and never will meet by helping instructors learn to be good instructors. So she was my main mentor through this process.
Corey, thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful and wonderful, wonderful words of advice. Thank you. Jennifer, tell us about your mentor.
When I first was attracted to the spinning program, I have to admit, I did not have a single mentor that helped guide me. And this was a long time. This was 1996. So there wasn't as much of a pool of mentors to draw from. And I don't remember being guided, instructed to look for mentors. So I did have mentors, but they didn't necessarily know it. So, and I mean, obviously, Johnny G was the first, because, that's how I became so entranced with spinning. But several of the spinning MIs, like I followed them I went to every, if they were within driving distance, every possible workshop I could. Mike Michaels was one, who is now with ICG, but that's back in 95, 96, or 96, 97. He was one of the big ones with spinning. But because I did become a master instructor without really having someone guide me, but because I didn't have like what Corey had, having Natasha, who I knew as well, who was, God, she was a mentor to so many. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I made myself available to others, because I think I would have had an easier path had I. Exactly. So,
Absolutely.
make yourself available when possible and reach. And that's why I think, Karen, you started this. We had this discussion. You were like, in these indoor cycling groups, so many of us are putting ourselves out there, answering questions, regardless of the brand, in a mentorship type of way. And I think, at least for me, that's one of the reasons why I do it, because I lacked it. I want to make sure it's available for others.
And we thank you for that, Jennifer, because you truly are a space where everyone can go to, regardless of brand or certification. Thank you. Doris, I'm super curious to know, being 35 years in the industry plus, who's your mentor?
Oh, this is so easy. Jay Blahnik, hands down. I think there's three things. There's your mentor, there's your sponsor, and there's your champion. And Jay has been all three to me. So meeting Jay early on at 24 Hour Fitness, when I was a divisional director, we brought in Precision Cycling. I'm dating myself, which was a Star Trek brand. And I had to work my buns off to be a part of his team. And I remember making the team, and I said, oh my gosh, I want to be as good as Jay Blahnik. And they said, oh no, honey, you have to be better. And I was like, ah! So I learned from Jay. I was schooled from Jay. And then with anything, with a good reputation and hard work, opportunities come. And so with that being said, he became more of a sponsor for me, in the sense that, when Schwinn came about, it was an easy transition for me to be on the Schwinn team. When Bosu came about, he knew I was a proven commodity just because I worked my buns off. And then he was a champion. And what a champion is, they pick up the phone and they say, hire this girl for this amount of money. And if you don't, I'm not going to sign the contract. And so I can tell you that Jay Blahnik has been my sponsor, my champion, and my mentor as well. And I think the reason why I'm so specific and particular, and more importantly, why I pick up the phone when someone calls me for help, is because he did it for me. And so Jay Blahnik is he's God. So that's about it.
I've been taking notes here, and I think I wrote down with a giant star beside it, get Jay's number.
Good luck.
I know. Oh, Krista, please tell us about your mentor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think this is a great question, because I think it was Jennifer who said, you don't know that they are your mentor, but when you look back, they were definitely their mentor. And one of the things that I've always really believed in is that you never get ahead alone, and that you surround yourself with people that really help you to get where you are. So my mentor was a woman named Barbara Crompton, and it was a club at the fitness group. And this was the first time I had ever actually had a female boss. And she was powerful, she was smart, she was visionary, she was, ahead of her time, and very supportive of not just getting out there in the 80s. I started working for her in 1989, but also to be supportive of everybody on the team. And one of the takeaways from her was she'd have all of us as management practice what she called RRCs. And RRCs was recognize, reward, and celebrate everybody on your team on a regular basis. So each month, if you hadn't recognized someone, you would figure out, how do I recognize that person? How do I reward them with something, whether it's, a gift or just something, a word or a phone call, or, no text at that time, and then celebrate it and celebrate them with everybody on the team. So she, every 2 weeks, when we would get our pay sheets, when you used to get a pay stub, she would write 3 great things about everybody on their team, on her team, every single week, every single pay sheet. So she was that kind of an inspiring person. And I really learned so many lessons that have actually taken me 30 years forward for all of those. So she was fantastic.
That's amazing. And a couple of things that you mentioned there, Krista, which just speaks to my heart, is the visionary and such a positive mindset, right? Approaching everything with such positivity. So thank you for sharing that. That's fabulous. Jesse, who's your mentor?
Well, I'm going to say a name that most of you will probably recognize. The late, great Jim Karanis was my mentor. I had worked with Jim for a long time before joining Team ICG. Him and I worked together at the same company. He was in charge of all of fitness while I was in charge of the personal training department. And I was just starting to get into group fitness. And with my love of music and cycling, Jim said, you're a shoo-in. This is just right up your alley. And I immediately found that I loved it. And what I found most inspiring about Jim was the way he treated everybody around him, not just his managerial skills and his ability to corral his team and always set the bar really high and always try to get the best out of his team. He approached everybody who he ran into the exact same way. It didn't matter who you were, where you were from. Everybody was treated with high regard in Jim's book. And I just really appreciated the fact that he could be at such a high level in the industry and still treat everyone the same and still be his same person and same personality. And so I just took kind of a lot of his characteristics to heart and tried to, push that forward in my agenda. In being able to inspire everyone around you as much as possible and try to get the most out of everyone. It's like, I think it was Jennifer who said, it's not about you, right? It's about everybody else. So that's exactly right. And it was always like that with Jim too. It was how can we create something that's going to be magical for people, regardless of the tools that you have in front of you.
And
so
I think I shared
really
that. I think I shared that story with you. I heard him on a podcast and I reached out and I actually reached out to Jennifer and I was like, who is this man? I have to find out who he is because he just touched me through this podcast. And,
Yeah.
and unfortunately he had passed a couple of years before. So thank you.
Too soon, way too soon. I think it hit all of us like a brick wall who knew Jim. And it hit me pretty hard. So it was somebody who was in my life who was a big part of helping me steer my ship. And all of a sudden it was swept out from underneath you. And what do? You move forward, right? Yeah. Like everything in life.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Jesse. I know I'm very sad that I never got a chance to connect with him. And on to Javier. Javier, tell us about your mentor.
Well, I have to remember back in 1999 when I got certified in the body pump. I came to the fitness industry through martial arts. I started teaching martial arts, and I just ended up teaching fitness just by chance. And my gym took me to get certified in body pump, and then I discovered this 5 feet tall firecracker of an instructor, short blonde hair, and it was just like, what is this? My reference was never in the fitness industry, and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, I want to do what you do, and I want to do it the way you do it. Then literally in less than a month, I took my body combat certification with her, and just blew my mind. And she became my mentor. She became my champion. She advocated for me to become a national trainer for Les Mills. She was always available for me to tell me, when I was doing well and when I was being an asshole. And I will always, always, always keep that in my heart, because, the reason why I am a fitness educator 21 years later is because of her.
And I love this fact that, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but a female mentor, because in my opinion, we don't have enough men leading in the fitness trenches. So I love that, we're able to go beyond those boundaries and change people's lives. That's fantastic.
That was her business. She was not in the business of, the spotlight. She was not in the business of, being a star. She was in the business of, changing people's lives. And that's what I wanted to achieve. And that's it.
I love that. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Such amazing stories. And I think that a really important point here is that mentors serve an integral role. Everyone needs one, but everyone can also be one. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your stories. Let's get into the meat of what we're here to discuss today. So, collaboration. In 2020, the fitness industry faced major upheavals and significant challenges. Some instructors started to work together to overcome common obstacles. But what I really wanted to highlight today, and this is how this came to be, is that large groups of indoor cycling instructors have been working together and supporting each other and guiding each other, regardless of brand or company, for years. And this is significant because I think prior to 2020, this wasn't really seen across all brands in other modalities. So let's explore this. Doris, I have a very important question for you. You are a brand rep and a respected consultant for many different companies. So tell me your thoughts on collaboration between competing companies. How does that make the fitness industry overall stronger?
Well, you would know that the indoor cycling community was tight if you went to the bar after the sessions of the conference day. That's where you would see it.
Not the first time you talked about the bar.
No, look at Kristen, Javier, guilty, and Jennifer, all guilty, guilty, guilty. Here's the deal is we have always had I believe, especially indoor cycling, we have never, ever have been competitive with each other ever. We've only had such respect and love. And I can speak to this because I have danced on many lines. I've been in executive companies where I've had Kaiser bikes, and most people are like, oh no, she's going to bring Schwinn. And I was like, no, actually, I went to the Kaiser facility. I met with the owner, sat down with Krista. I've worked at Lifetime when the bikes were stages. And I'm like, Pam, Javier, hook me up. I don't understand. It's always been that way. And then my last one with Mike Michaels, I worked at a company that had Life Fitness bikes. And so, we've all danced because I don't think it's about the brand. It's about the masses, and the masses are getting on a bike in the dark, going nowhere. Now, how you choose to get there is your way. I choose to ride right because that's Schwinn. That's our logo. And I know how Kaiser rides and how Stages rides and how Life Fitness rides and Coach by Color. And I love that. Like, it's good. When studios popped up, everyone was freaking out. Oh my gosh, they're dancing on the bikes. Guess what? We've never sold more bikes in our life. Let's be clear. And then secondly, they're like, there's more than dancing on a bike, which good for you. Dancing on a bike is really fun. Then they came in and learned other like legitimate cycling, Coach by Color, Power, all these different things. So I think, the more the merrier. In regards to doing various brands, I work for Core, I work for Rika, I've worked with a lot of big brands. I think it's about knowing your lane, understanding your lane, and then with that, there's respect for others. When people start questioning, when people start judging, we are just doing damage to ourselves. And so I can tell you, when I got on this call, I almost got teary. I'm so excited to see these faces. I miss them really, really bad. And so how do we work together? We respect each other. We understand one size does not fit all. And if our common goal is to propel indoor cycling, then we're going to be fine. If our common goal is for people to move, then we're going to be fine. When you start seeing clicks and when you start seeing brands, it's a problem. And just to reiterate what you said, Karen, I could tell you in 2019, the clubs were definitely going head to head. I mean, who was the latest? Who was the greatest? Who was going to have the best program? Who was going to be sold first? Who was going to flip? And 2020, stop that in a second. All of a sudden, everybody came together and said, oh my God, let's keep this industry alive. And so I think as this brand, we've already demonstrated this. As I said, check us out in the bar. You know, we laugh about how like Buddy from Kaiser sneaks into our room. You know, Javier and Pam Belchek, we go back and forth with each other. Like, we love each other. We're family. We've always modeled it. It's now, I think, the industry's following it, because indoor cycling has been going on a long time. And I think the industry can learn from us.
Beautiful words. And so funny that you mentioned that about the bar, because the last time I presented at CanFit Pro in Toronto, I was out drinking with the Kaiser crew, Buddy and Linda, and I was killing myself laughing. It was like the highlight out of everything I experienced that weekend, hanging out with Buddy and Linda, my absolute highlight. So thank you.
Buddy's naughty. He likes to sneak into other people's rooms. We have to kick him out all the time. True story.
I love it. Oh, thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful words of advice there, Doris. Thank you so much for sharing. I want to switch gears just a tiny little bit. And Javier, I'm going to ask this of you. I want to discuss the positive impacts of collaboration in large groups, because especially you, I've seen you on Facebook threads helping out and adding value, regardless of if it's a stages, bike, or certification. And I love that. And we're on there all hours of the day as well, right? Like, we don't have work hours. So I'm curious about two things. The first one being, why do you do it? Why are you helping out people who are the competition? And secondly, is there anything specifically that you have done to encourage that cross-brand collaboration within your team?
Well, the first thing that I would say is, why not? Right? Definitely, I don't think, we are in this business to make a ton of money. So we do it out of passion and a vocation of service. And that is helping others. I myself have been a part of different brands throughout the years, and the common denominator has always been empowering and educating fitness professionals, regardless of the tools that they were using, the background, whatever. The way I have always understood education is as a tool, and I've always had an approach that was very non-judgmental. So I'm just going to present you with the facts, and hopefully that will empower you to make educated decisions. And I am really happy that I was able to bring that as well into stages. As to how do I work with my team? Well, I try to keep an open eye on everything that is going on in the industry, especially what you guys are doing, and then just share it with my team, whether if it's an article or a webinar or whatever. Just like, learning is learning. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. And Doris said it beautifully before. It doesn't matter what bike you ride or what brand you wear, colors. We're all in the same journey, which is elevating the fitness industry as a whole. And we have a pretty daunting task ahead. So let's just freaking do it.
So brilliant points. I love that. And I think one thing that you said there, Javier, that really jumped out at me is, you don't let emotion get into it. So you're able to converse with individuals with different brands and certifications because it's not emotional to you. You've got your eye on what you're trying to achieve. And so you don't get rattled. Or if you do get rattled, we don't see it.
Well, I'm really happy that is what comes through, because I worked really hard on that. I do get rattled, I do get flustered, I do get frustrated, but I always try to remove myself from the equation and remove personal things on personal triggers, and just go down to the facts. And if I can help, then I weigh in. And if I don't, I step back. I try to limit my time on Facebook and social media in general, but specifically Facebook. And one thing that I tell you is, because I have the role that I have to be there. Otherwise, I don't think I would. So yeah.
Well, can I just say that we are very happy that you have to be on Facebook. And I have really enjoyed getting to know you better. I know that we ran into each other in Toronto 2
Yes.
years ago, but yeah, I look forward to getting to know you even more. And I love all of our back and forth. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. If I can add something just really quickly, because I'm pretty sure that this doesn't happen just to me. I think with social media and Facebook specifically, there's this battle with ego, which is how much am I bringing to the table that is helping others, and how much I'm there because of the instant gratification of someone liking what you have to say and pumping your ego and saying you're awesome. And that is something that I battle with constantly. So that brings yet another layer of complexity of all of us being involved in social media.
Yeah, the number of likes that you get, right? Yeah, love it. And I agree. Brilliant insight. I can't wait to dig deeper into that in a future panel webinar, perhaps. Let's talk about risk with collaboration. So, even though a lot has changed in 2020 and now 2021, we still see that there's a number of companies or even individual instructors that tend to keep their class profiles and playlists held close to their chest, and they're not really willing to share resources or tips that might help others out. So we know that brands are fighting to capture the majority of the market share. And we hear a lot of chatter about instructors talking and worrying about being made obsolete within the virtual model of fitness classes on the rise. So I want to zoom in on this. And Corey, I'm going to ask you this question because you have lived and taught in so many different countries, like 9 of them, and you've experienced a lot of different approaches to health and wellness. So I'm interested what your take is. In 2020 and beyond, do you believe that we are all in this together? Or are we looking at this through too narrow of a scope? I mean, is this the decade of the global virtual solopreneur, or are we all just going to revert back?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. There's no doubt in my mind that we have to be in this together and more. It's the pandemic has shown us that we really need to pan out and take a bigger look at the entire picture of fitness. The pandemic's had its grip on us for almost a year now. And that grip has been a big contraction, right? This contraction of the economy, the contraction of our jobs, the contraction of our mental and physical and social well-being. It's all been under this crazy grip. And I don't mean a contraction that kind of leads to oblivion like a black hole. I don't mean that kind of contraction. What I mean is the pandemic's given us this contraction that precedes a pounce. And I think it's really important that we just stop and think about how we need to pounce as soon as we can. Maybe not yet, maybe not today, but there is a whole lot of hurt out there. This is not just about a bunch of people dying. We still have people who are facing long-term effects of the pandemic, right? And we have traumatized families in traumatized communities. And I think with my experience of living overseas, I really look at how North America approaches the victories and the championships of our successes, like my major weight loss or my crossing a finish line, as an individual sort of pursuit and accomplishment. But in so many cultures around the world, your accomplishments are for the family, are for the family pride, are for the community. Also, your failures are the disappointments for everybody. And I think we have a lot to learn from just stopping and taking a look at how other cultures do things, because we have a lot to learn. And in our profession as trainers, we want to go out and give. This is how we do it. This is how we want you to do it. And that's that affiliation to brand. But what we have to remember is our affiliation to brand goes up, but our actions go down and across to bigger populations. And if we take the time to look at how other cultures really champion the collective effort, then, well, first of all, we might not be in such a big mess in the United States if we did that, but also we could probably see that this pounce that we're going to have to make has to be a collaborative effort, because where the mental health and the social health and the physical health happens is in a gym. We need to get these gyms and studios back open, and that will release that contraction of the economic strain that we're feeling, and you know, and all the other strains that we're feeling. Whoever, you know, also I just also want to add that the fitness community getting together in that kind of collaboration, we need that tightness, because we need to collaborate with the medical community and the psychological and social welfare community to make sure that our ability to deliver the services of making sure our community is healthy and well are a cohesive event, right? If I hope that I'm making sense on this. I think it's super important not to just see us as individuals and as brands and I'm going to deliver a class, but you know, whoever jumps on the protocols for helping people come back who have had COVID, that's gonna be huge, because that's a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go on too much about it, but I've just been thinking a lot about this idea that we can't just think of it as me and my class, or me and my group, or me and my brand, or me and my fitness industry, because we need to work with other, you know, science-driven populations out there, so that we can actually do the work of serving our communities. And now our communities are huge, right? We can meet our communities on Zoom. I can, depending on our time zone, I can meet you anywhere. Anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about collaboration is huge, and it's important. It's important among us, and it's important outside of us as well.
Yeah, because let's face it, the North American way of doing things is not the only way that we have to work with now. We are global. We can be global. So I thank you for that. I think that's a really, you know, also another future panel discussion that we can talk about is how we're not actually the center of the universe. Just like when we're teaching a fitness class, we're not the center of the universe as the instructor.
Yeah, there's so much to learn.
I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I got a message from Glenn. Glenn, meeting you in Toronto was also the highlight of my life. So, and I know that we had, I mean, global. We are global now. So I'm getting messages from people all across the world saying, hey, wait a minute. That's fantastic. So, Jennifer, I'm going to pick on you for a moment here. And I shouldn't say pick on you. I want to pick your brain, because you have worked with thousands of talented individuals through Indoor Cycling Association with a myriad of different indoor cycling certifications and backgrounds. So you've kind of seen it all. Do you feel that there are risks in cross-brand collaboration in our industry? I mean, like, when should companies or instructors avoid collaborating outside of their brands?
Well, the short answer is no. I don't think there are risks. I do respect brands have to, master instructors have to respect their brand and, you know, the specifics of their program. But here's the thing with Indoor Cycling Association that makes me different than all of you. I don't have a bike. I'm not associated with a bike manufacturer. And everyone knows that to be successful, you have to sell. Those companies have to sell bikes. If they don't sell their bikes, I mean, it boils down to this. If they don't sell their bikes, they're not going to, you know, have that piece of the pie, and they all want a bigger piece of the pie. I don't have that challenge with the Indoor Cycling Association. So it gives me a little bit of freedom, while at the same time I could still honor and respect that Schwinn, that spinning, that stages, that ICG, that Kaiser, they're behind each program, behind each master instructor. They always have that thing in the background saying, we need to sell more bikes. So if I can contribute in a way that helps all of them sell more bikes, while at the same time raise our industry. My motto has been for a long time, all ships rise in a high tide. I want to be the tide. In fact, this panel is turning out to be the tide. Each and every one of us are working together to raise that tide. And the ships are the brands, right? They're the programs. If we compete so much, or if the programs that have bikes compete so much, then there's going to be almost like a lock, a system of moving water through a channel. There's going to be ups and downs and ups and downs. We need to raise it all at the same time. So we have to work together. So I do not believe there are risks that, and if there were, they're all outweighed by the benefits of us working together. And how do we do that? By inspiring instructors to get more education, regardless of where they get it, because they're still going to be riding your bike. They're still hopefully, respecting your brand, but all the education is going to help them do that. Whether it's reading a book, attending a webinar from, even another program, or, some sort of course that they can take that'll help them be a better instructor, a safer, more effective instructor, someone who adheres to proper technique, because technique and, more motivation, because the end result is more people getting more fit, telling more people to take more classes. And as Corey was just discussing, the effects of the pandemic are going to be so, it's hurting our industry. We're going to all have to work to bring it back up together. And I think at the end of this challenge, our collaboration is going to be even more important than it has been up to now.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And I mean, you are in a very unique position because you do get to see it all and remain neutral. And
I like to think, I call Indoor Cycling Association is, we are bike or program agnostic. So
I love that term. Shannon Fable, she uses that term all the time. And Shannon Fable I adore that woman. She's got a lot of good stuff to say. And yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. So do you see that crossing over to, because of course we don't just have cycling instructors on this page. Do you think that people across or that are teaching any modality can benefit
Absolutely.
from working together?
Absolutely, because as whether you are teaching, a group fitness class with weights, or yoga, or Pilates, or even Zumba, if you can learn, I always try to inspire instructors to step outside of their little box and learn more from other presenters, other programs, because it will all come back and benefit you, make you a better coach, make you a better communicator, make you more open to other things. Maybe you decide to teach something else in addition to what you're doing. So there is never a risk or never a negative aspect of learning from other sources.
I love it. A rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, it's so very true. And with some of the challenges that we're facing today, we really need to get behind this collaborative idea that, hey, this isn't about you choosing me or over them. It's about you choosing the ability to move. And I love that. And so I want to use your statements there, Jennifer, to sort of springboard off, because there is no one right way to do it. So I want to acknowledge that we're all very busy fitness professionals, both formally and informally leading other fitness professionals. That's what we do. We want to help. So in these rapidly changing times, we have all had to significantly shift and adapt how we do business. And it looks very different for every single person right now. Now, Krista, I know that you've got a lot going on all the time. But whenever I've reached out to you, you've always taken time out of your day to chat with me, even though I didn't directly impact your bottom line. So tell me more about how else you are making a difference in the industry, either as a leader or as an entrepreneur. And if I can just add on to that, are you confident that it will lead to success?
Well, first of all, you know, to your comment about, you know, always being there, you know, everyone we meet along the path and along the journey certainly helps us in some way. So me meeting with you to help you, well, you will help me some way, somehow as well. So from that perspective, and it being in the industry for so long is making a difference to me, especially when COVID hit, was to really reflect on how are we going to come out of this? Because eventually we knew we were going to come out of this. So were we going to come out of this stronger? Were we going to use this opportunity to use this big disruption to the fitness industry in a way that we hadn't seen it? It was kind of, in a way, it's really shaken things up. Like we were kind of going along on this trajectory of one way, and then this happened and everything had to somehow pivot and change. And some of the things we were already doing in terms of the technology, but it just got us there way, way faster. So it was a moment of saying, okay, how do I make a difference? How do we as a team make a difference? How do we support people along the way? Because this is a really challenging time for a lot of people. And so with the disruptor, I always think, and you know, you're probably sick of hearing the term pivot, but I always think it's a great word because I have taught, coached grade 6 boys basketball with 30 kids, 30 boys in it. And one of the things we teach the pivot, but one of the things I teach that is that we always still have one foot on the ground. So when we were pivoting in the industry, we still knew very clearly what we needed to do in that sense. So we were pivoting well. The other thing that when we look at that, it gave us an opportunity to reach the masses like we never have ever been able to meet before. So when we talk about collaboration and brands, it wasn't about brand, it was really about how do we now, how the benefit of being able to meet, to connect with so many people. Someone who may never have gone into a gym because they were uncomfortable. Now they're at home, they feel safe. They can try that. And then when the gym's open, they're like, oh yeah, well I did Corey's class online, and maybe I'm going to go and now try her when she's back in the studio. So that has allowed us, I think, from an industry perspective, to really, really hit so many more people. So for us, or for me, in terms of that, was how do I come out of this stronger? How do we come out of this stronger? So thinking about that, remembering that hard work, even though you love what you do, everything we do is hard work. So you know the saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, we love what we do, but I bet you all of us on this panel work really, really hard. So using that hard work to look at what we can do to contribute. And one of the things that we also decided is that we wanted people to connect with people globally. And you were asking me, Karen, about entrepreneurial, is that we wanted to create a platform for not just all of us star, and all you guys are famous instructors, but let's take raw talent and help raw talent and give them a platform to really shine. And so that's how that all came about, was the Ride by Kaiser, was to create this global platform where it was people from all around the world who are maybe only taught a few years, but have such great energy and passion. Let's give them a platform to really shine. And so that has kind of been what the philosophy has been in moving forward. And the other thing I'll just say, a couple of things, is to really remember who your audience is and remember who your students are. We all love fitness, we live it, we breathe it, but for that new person, it's really hard. So how do we make it so that they can feel successful? How do we make it so that they like, wow, I could do this. And maybe I could do a little bit more today than I did yesterday. And yeah, we say, oh, exercise is fun, but it's fun for us because we get it, but that new person, they're struggling. So how do we then really actually make them feel successful? So those are kind of the things in terms of moving forward and making a difference, is to reflect, look at how you can contribute, and look forward to the future, because we are all in this together. And at the end of the day, all we are trying to do is to get people to move. If I can get someone to move, that's my job. How do I, and that's something I love to do, regardless of a brand. I think we are all on the same page that way.
I love that, Krista. So many great things to unpack there. And the thing that concerns me the most is we have seen fitness professionals that are shook because they haven't been able to teach, they haven't been able to work out, they're dealing with stuff at home. Their own fitness is taking a hit. So now is the time to really come together, because not only are we lifting up the people in our classes, but we may have to lift up our coworkers and our fellow fitness professionals. Such a valid point. And I love the basketball terminology with people that we still got that 1 foot on the ground. We are still connected. I'm going to steal that, and I will always let people know that I got it from you.
That's
Thank
great.
you so much.
You're welcome.
So let's talk about this. We all play a part in this. Momentum means nothing if others don't pick up the gauntlet and continue forth, embodying these types of positive and progressive changes that we're talking about today. So let's tackle this from a different management point of view. And I'm going to ask Jesse. Now, you guys need to know that Jesse's kind of my boss. And I adore him. So, when I was asking him these questions, I was like, I'm trying to peel back the layers and get into his head, right? So I love it. Jesse, you are one of the easiest guys to get along with. Jesse never gets mad. Best boss ever. What are some specific steps that you feel that instructors or group managers should take after listening to this panel today in order to create and foster that sense of better collaboration within their own groups? And because you're going to have people that are resistant. They're resistant to change. They're resistant to collaboration. So how do you deal with it on both sides? How do you get people to collaborate? And how do you deal with those that just refuse?
It's such a good question, and it's something that all of us being leaders in this industry have experienced in a number of workshops, undoubtedly. You get the gamut of instructors, you get everything, the entire bell curve of instructors, right? And I think it's most important for us to remember that we are not just leaders in this industry, but we're leaders of energy, and it's a different kind of leadership. Whatever energy we want to get out of our students, we should be projecting that energy. And we all know that it's a time and a place for certain types of energy, right? And I'm sorry for the beeping there. I got messages coming through. It's one of those things that you get an instructor that might give you some pushback, right? And we all know that if we're leading a workshop, we've got to get buy-in from everybody there. By the time we leave, we want everybody understanding what it is that they need to do, how they can deliver to their best abilities, how they can be the best version of themselves. And I think that we really need to remember that all the instructors that we're dealing with are just like all the other people that we're dealing with. Everyone's got their own baggage. They've got their own stress in their lives, and it's piling on just like anybody else's stress levels. So if we're going to claim that we're the leaders, we have to be the ones setting the example for everyone else. And so you said that I don't get mad. You just don't see me get mad. My kids don't see me get mad either, right? It's one of those things that you have to be able to have a certain amount of emotional intelligence and recognize that the stress that people bring to the table is a lot of times they're not trying to take their stress out on you. They're just trying to release their stress in their life somehow. And they don't necessarily have a good channel to do that in. And so sometimes we end up being that sounding board. And it's important to not get offended by little details like that. People can be mean, people can be disruptive, people can, you can show up to a workshop and people can think they know it all. A lot of times that happens, right? And you just take it in stride, and you say, look, I'm here to teach you guys a bunch of things. I hope that by the end of the day, you can take home some things. Some of you will learn some things from me. Some of you will know a lot of the things that I'm saying, and it'll just be kind of, more of a refresher for you, so to speak, for some of the things. But I think it's important. One thing that I always say that whenever I go into any workshop is, I'm here to teach all of you about this product, but I'm also here to learn from you, because no matter what workshop I go to, there's always something that I take home from somebody, and it doesn't matter how long they've been in the industry. It could be 2 months or it could be 20 years, and they're going to bring something cool and unique to the table, because they're all in that role because they've got this great energy, great passion, great personality. And just because there's something that's, stressing them out and they're projecting that out onto you, let's figure out why. It's all in the details. And a lot of times it just takes asking some questions. It takes listening. And it takes trying to understand where they're coming from. And a lot of times, if you just take a little bit of time and you ask them the right questions and you listen, all of a sudden you've got them reeled in and they're on your side, because they get that you're not there to attack them, you're there to help them. And so I think that's kind of the underlying issue of collaboration. It doesn't matter what brand we represent. It doesn't matter what brand you're representing that day. When you walk through that door, it's your job to make sure that you're steering your energy in the appropriate direction, and that everybody feels like they're in a comfortable place, regardless of their education level, regardless of how long they've been doing it, that they all feel like they can jump into the conversation and ask questions, and it's a safe place, and that there's not going to be any judgments because some people know more about something than others. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're all here to help elevate each other, and we're all here to help, especially coaches, be able to do what we love doing, which is change people's lives for the better, and be able to have some sort of positive impact on people's lives. And if we can help coaches do that, then we're affecting positive change into that many more people's lives.
That is brilliant. You brought up some things like the whole, what you give is what you will receive back. It's like that Japanese fable, I believe, of the dog in the thousand mirrors. Absolutely. I'm sure if I got that wrong, someone will let me know. But yeah, the energy and the emotional intelligence, we could talk for hours about emotional intelligence and how that impacts leaders and the teams that they choose. That's just brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Jesse. I really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I feel like I could walk away right now and already be the richer for all of the wonderful insight that you've provided. But I know that our viewers have some key questions that they want to ask as well. So allow me to introduce Melissa back, who will be taking over the Q&A session. Remember, these Q&As, they are questions coming from you. So if you have something you want to know, jot it down and we will do our best to answer it. Melissa, take it away.
Thank you, everybody. This has been amazing. And as someone who's a spinning instructor, certified with Kaiser and Schwinn, and I've taken so many, continuing ed, CEUs with you, workshops with so many of you, and so many of you have been a mentor, formally and informally, to even me personally. What you're doing is amazing. So this has been such a great experience to hear more and learn more from you. But we've got lots of questions coming in, and people are really, really interested to learn more from you. So one of our first questions is about becoming a master instructor or master educator. What path is sort of the right path for people to be on? How does one grow, develop to get on that path if they are aspiring to become a master instructor? I'm going to start with Javier. If you can talk a little bit about what that path might be like in stages.
Okay, sure. Well, if you clearly need to be bold and grow a beard, as you can see on screen. The first thing that you have to do is just reach out to that brand, try to create connections with someone there, and just let them know that you're interested. Passion will get you there. At least will open the door. Consistency and being persistent will probably get you the prize. Then obviously this is not the greatest of times for anybody to grow teams. I know that some of us are still doing that, myself included. But definitely reach out, present yourself, and try to know as much as you can about the brand, and just demonstrate how you align with the brand's values and point of view beforehand. So, you know, we can see that there's a good match. We need new people. We need new blood. I'm super grateful that I have, you know, people in my team that are in their 20s and that they have become such freaking rock stars in such a, you know, little amount of time. But we have a lot of work to do. You know, most of us in this call have been in the industry for, you know, 10, 15, 20 plus years. And it's not that we need to go anywhere, but we need to bring people with us, and we need that.
Fantastic. Thank you. So proactivity, show your passion, and keep at it. Keep knocking on doors. Pick up that phone, send that email. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. So another question. How are your brands within the indoor cycling sector making indoor cycling more accessible, more diverse? How is that being addressed for inclusivity? Krista, can you address that first?
Yeah, so what we've been doing is to look at a brand, like I'm sure all these brands, we're not just not in North America, but we are global. So we wanted to really reach out to a global platform. And so our goal is to bring people onto the team, this raw talent that I mentioned, and also and to be teaching in all different languages. So not just as English as your first language, but having classes in German and Italian and French and Spanish. And so it's been really exciting from that perspective. So that's really how we're trying to think about it from a global perspective, connecting and everything from different ages and in all different just really to look at how do we be inclusive to make it really a global platform. So that's what we're looking at. So for the person that was asking about, joining teams, just like Javier said, like just be passionate, get your foot in the door by applying and connecting and doing all those types of things. And there's lots of great opportunities out there.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we have another question about brand collaboration in and of itself. Can any of you talk about if any of your brands and your companies have actually collaborated on something, or if there are plans to collaborate on something meaningful that are going to bring you together as a brand? Jesse, is there anything that you think might be in the works or that you've done with any of the other brands collectively?
Yeah, well, I think right off the bat, when Team ICG was introducing Coach by Color, the idea was to collaborate the same color scheme as my zone and a lot of the other 10th percentile accepted color zones that people are training in. And I think it's little things like that that allow you to cross between brands, cross-pollinate brands, and potentially use multiple products from different companies simultaneously to create different unique experiences. And I think ultimately that's what we're after, is experiences. And we all deliver that in a different way. And we all have different bikes that we ride and different computers and technology and lights and studios and all of that. There's tons of variety to create different experiences. So anytime you can add one more element or affiliate one more type of product into your realm, and in this case, it's our indoor cycling world, we're going to get more variety, more option, more opportunity to have more variety. And that's going to likely speak to not only more brands, but more instructors as well, who like to teach different varieties of classes. So if we can diversify the experiences that we're creating within facilities or virtually, then we're going to be able to reach more people. I mean, we've already done that in 2020. Everybody's expanded their virtual portfolio to reach more people out of necessity. Everyone should have been doing that anyway to reach the majority of the population that doesn't have access to gyms anyway. But now we realize it's here to stay, and that there's always going to be some sort of compatibility of virtual and live instruction. And now it's what other types of tools and what other types of products can we bring in, or what is my company going to release this year, next year? How is that going to be able to work well with this other product, that kind of thing? And I think the more brands can coexist together and work in ways that they can be used simultaneously together, the more we're going to win, the more everybody's going to win. because it doesn't shut the door to a specific brand. Instead, it opens the door to more brands and more potential.
Absolutely agreed. Thank you. Karen, I have a question about technology, Peloton, this digital age, this digital world that we're living in now with the pandemic, and how we've really shifted. Again, I'm not going to use that word pivot, right? How we've shifted toward a more digital platform. What do you think the role of Peloton and some of these online platforms is moving forward? How is that affecting the industry?
Oh, okay. Great question. So I was just listening to a podcast with Simon Sinek, and he was speaking about a Dr. James Carse, I believe, who was like a philosopher from the 1980s. And he theorized that there's two types of games and mindsets that we play and live in. And those two games are the finite and the infinite games. So the finite games, as I understand, is defined as known players and fixed rules and clear objectives. And there's always a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if there's a winner, there's also a loser. So whereas infinite games, they have both known and unknown players, which means that new players can join whenever they want. The rules will constantly change, which means you play however you want. And the objective is to stay in the game as long as possible. So every single person involved in the fitness industry, they're all players of this infinite game, right? Every day of our lives, we are in an infinite game. We can do whatever we want. There are consequences. But in the fitness industry itself, there's always this talk about being number one or being the best or even beating the competition. But based on what? Because you had 27 people in class and Shauna over there only had 20. Sorry to anyone whose name is Shauna. Our role really is to impact people's lives in a positive way. Just like Krista said, just like Dora said, just like Javier said, we want to get them to move for health and wellness. And the problem is the people in our industry, they play this infinite game, but with a finite mindset. And when we play to win in a game that has no finish line, you can expect to see very consistent outcomes. And those outcomes will be a deterioration of trust, the end of cooperation, and innovation will stop. Okay, so Peloton is a player in our infinite game. And you are too, all of us. So I'd like to challenge everyone that's listening today to really adopt that infinite mindset, because two companies can provide the exact same product. And guess what? They can both be successful. There's no such thing as winning in this industry. We are in this for the long haul. So I say, welcome technology, welcome Peloton. You are my neighbor and I'm happy to be in this game with you. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, perfect. I agree. I mean, I think many of us should have been doing these things all along. It should not have taken a pandemic to have gotten us to the point where we're now thinking more creatively about how we reach more people in ways that work for them, right? So I think we have to approach this from a really positive stance, and how could we be doing things better and more efficiently to meet the needs of as many people as possible, regardless of what format it is. All right, Jennifer, I've got a question for you. So many of us as instructors of whatever format it is, we hear often, you know, my riders, my participants, they don't care about data, they don't care about performance, they just want to get their sweat on, have fun, get in and get out. Performance doesn't matter, data doesn't matter. So what are your thoughts on that sentiment, especially if many of the participants aren't necessarily cyclists or what we would consider avid cyclists, outdoor riders? Does performance matter? What does data matter? How do we negotiate that between where it matters and where someone might think it doesn't matter?
I get that question so often. And it's also one of the very common questions you see in many of the indoor cycling groups. You know, why should I worry so much about, you know, all this cycling stuff when my riders just say they want to have fun. In the continuum of training techniques, from on one end, you have, pro cyclists, all the way to the other end of indoor cycling, party on a bike. And nothing wrong with party on a bike. So let me go even further out than that, to where some boutique programs do things some of us wouldn't consider at stages. Schwinn likes to say riding right. In the middle, there is a bridge in the middle that brings the two together. And certainly there are some things that a cyclist might do to improve their performance on their outdoor bike that the typical indoor cycling rider wouldn't need to really be doing, like spending hours in the saddle, seated in the saddle for hours at a time. And certainly there are things that we need to offer to our non-outdoor cycling indoor cyclists, like getting out of the saddle more often than over here on this end of the continuum. But that center area, it is so important to recognize that all the things that most of the things that a cyclist is looking for in terms of making themselves stronger and better, faster outdoors, and faster outdoors corresponds to putting out more power indoors. All those things, those adaptations that they are looking for, they really do apply to the indoor cyclist who has never ridden a bike or rarely rides a bike. It does cross over, and their goals over here on towards this end might be more like losing weight, being able to endure longer in an interval, a longer interval, or maybe, instead of just a 45-minute class, maybe a 60-minute class, maybe do more classes a week. All of those adaptations they happen better when you use these proven techniques for cycling. So yes, I absolutely believe that even if your class just wants to have some fun, they do have goals like losing weight and wanting to be able to do more intervals or last longer in an interval. And isn't it more fun when you're able to do those things, or when you start to see those successes? So yes, absolutely. And this also transfers over to the non-indoor cycling world. Personal trainers and those who are teaching, various group fitness classes where we're trying to get our riders, our participants more fit. When you adhere to the proper training principles that we learn in exercise science and apply them to the activity that you're doing, again, the water rises, the tide rises, everyone is going to be more successful. So absolutely, regardless of your format, but especially because I live in the indoor cycling world more than I am a personal trainer, but that is what I do. Absolutely. Make sure you are following tried and true techniques, the techniques that help us outdoor cyclist performance that will also help your indoor cycling goals.
Fantastic. Thank you. We are getting ready to close up, wrap up. But before we do, I have got one rapid fire question that I'm going to ask each of you, and you've got about 30 seconds to answer. Sound good? All right, fantastic. So the question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to any instructor, regardless of format or certification, about collaboration? All right, Jennifer, your mic's off, so we're going to start with you. Go.
Will you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I saw someone that just commented on my comment on my thing. I was distracted.
Absolutely. So what is one piece of advice that you can offer to any instructor, regardless of format or certification, when it comes to collaboration? 30 seconds.
Well, whether this applies to collaboration, but this applies to everything in your life, not just your fitness, but everything outside of your life as well. If you are an instructor, one of my quotes that I have posted in my office and that I've often posted at the Indoor Cycling Association And I am going to take this and post it as soon as we're done here. It's just a meme I have up. Who dares to teach must never cease to learn. So if you're taking on this role of being an instructor, you can never stop learning. And that really applies to what we've been talking to here today, because learn from Schwinn if you're stages trained, or spinning, or ICG, or Kaiser. Learn from everyone, because it will make you a better instructor all around. And then I have one other meme, one other quote. This is Robert Heinlein, who said, when one teaches, to learn. So as an instructor, when you are teaching your riders, you are always learning. So just keep that up.
100% agree. I think for me, it's approaching everything with that beginner's mindset and always having that curiosity so that you're always learning.
Because you will never stop being that big. You will not always be a beginner, but you're never going to learn it all, right? In fact, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And all of us in this group have been in this industry for so long, but I can guarantee you that every single one here is constantly reading and learning more and remembering things that you kind of forgotten, that you learned a long time ago, but you need a, an update on it. So yeah, just always keep learning.
Excellent. Thank you. Doris, you are up next, my friend. What is that one piece of advice you would give to any instructor about collaboration? You've got 30 seconds.
I'm going to hold to the 30 seconds. Be open-minded. The second you don't have your mind open, you start making decisions and judgments. I think the day you know everything is the day you know nothing. And one thing too, pointing back to my mentor, the day you don't embrace technology, you're old. And so create community with whatever tools are out there. And more importantly, just be open-minded.
Perfect. Javier, 30 seconds. One piece of advice.
Well, Doris stole my thunder, so I'm going to say leave your ego at home and don't take things personally.
Perfect. Krista.
Yeah, lots of great similar feedback to what everybody else said. But I would say with collaboration and learning is when you go into something, question things like, did I learn something new? Did it strengthen what I knew, or do I need to question what I thought I knew? So it's those three things. Did I learn something? Does it support what I already know, or do I need to question that? So going in with that open mind. And then the last piece of advice is just be you. Just be you. Be who you are. Be the best who you are. Doesn't matter what bike you are, what program you do. Just be the best that you can be, and always don't try to be somebody else. Just be you, and be really confident in that.
Fantastic. Jesse, 30 seconds.
See if I can add anything else to the list that you guys didn't already cover. But I think ultimately, anytime you walk into any scenario as a coach, remember why you're there in the first place. It's not about you. It's about everybody else in that room. And while we might be a team in this environment and we can all play nicely together, learn from people, be that open book, don't be the closed book. One thing that I know for a fact is that the more I learn, the more I understand, the more I know I don't know. There is so much more out there for me to learn. And I have a lot of answers, but I don't have all of them. And people have loads of great questions. So keep asking questions. Don't feel like you're ever in an environment where you can't ask questions, even if it may not feel like it. Ask your questions, get answers, stay passionate about what you're doing. Don't let anybody step on your toes, and be the best version of yourself, always.
Well said. Corey.
Oh, okay. What didn't you say yet? Where I think obviously your training affiliates you to your company. I know I mentioned that before. I think mentorship can come from anywhere. And I think if you see something that you can gain from somebody's true talent as a coach or depth of knowledge in science or whatever, no matter what gear they're wearing, it is very okay to go in and extrapolate what you can get from people, but also with the idea that you will take and you will give, right? So maybe maybe right now you are on a path of learning, but pretty soon you will also be a mentor. So if we're going to grow as collaborators, we really need to look toward each other and within and without the field. Without the field.
Thank you, Corey. Karen, last one. You've got 30 seconds, and then I'm going to have you take us right into our wrap up and close us out.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. So, and I may get this quote incorrect. I hope I don't. There's a gentleman by the name of Arthur Ashe, and he was amazing background on him. I encourage everyone to look up the difficulties that he faced in life. But his quote is, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. And this is advice that I give to people that I train. This is advice that I give to people in my classes. This is advice that I will give to any person who's trying to do something that they've never done before and they're scared of, maybe messing up. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Because if you do all those three things, then you are golden. You've done the best that you can. So as you can see, we are privileged to have the opportunity to watch, listen, and learn from these amazing industry leaders, right? Does everybody feel like a little bit more in awe than they did perhaps an hour and 15 minutes ago? In the follow-up email and on the screen at the end of today's panel discussion, we're going to share where you can follow the leader and keep up with all the amazing things that they have going on. So today we talked about mentors, risks and rewards, and collaboration, building strength by supporting everyone around you, and also being open to the possibilities. And one way that you, all my dear listeners or viewers of this video, one way that you can make this happen is by sharing this video link with your teams and your leaders. That is my call to action for you, because collaboration beyond brand, please let us all be stronger together. And so it is with heartfelt thanks that we wrap up today's panel discussion. And remember, we want to hear from you. We have things in the works to come back and visit you again. And all we need to know is, what would you like us to talk about? So please make sure that you complete the survey that's going to pop up at the end of this webinar. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, if I can figure out my computers, is I'm going to put up everybody's social media information, all of our panelists' social media information. And if you want, feel free to take a picture of that, because you won't have time to write it all down. Okay, hang on. Bear with me. I'm finding which screen it's on. There. Can everybody see? Oh, no. There. Can everybody see that now? My whole screen just disappears when I share, so I have no idea what's going on right now. So take a picture, people, because it's going to be gone in about 3 seconds. I want to thank you. Panelists, please feel free to unmute your mics right now, because I'm sure everyone would love to hear your beautiful voices one more time.
And
Not all at once now.
Come on.
I would love to say stay safe, but with technology and learning, I've got to teach online on homeroomfitness.com for a Schwinn cycling certification, actually class that we are offering to everyone who's Schwinn related. So the show must go on. It's just now online. So thank you.
And that's the truth. Thank you so much, Karen, for organizing this. Thank you so much for this amazing group of panelists, some of whom I already knew, and new friends. This has been an absolute blessing and a pleasure. Thank you so much, guys.
Just echoing that. Yeah, thank you. I'm standing among giants. I can't believe it. So very nice to meet most of you.
Love you all.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Can't wait to see you all in person soon.
Yes, see you soon.
Yes.
Melissa, thank you so much for all of your hard work. Everybody have a great day. Be amazing.
Thank you.